Welcome to the grade 12 CAT students of 2024, and this is a special video for you guys just to have a look at the PAT that has been released recently, and we just want to look at what the topic is and what are the instructions, just to give us a basic idea of where we can start looking and start finding our feet with regard to where we're going to go with the PAT this year. For those of you who are doing CAT, you should be aware by now from grade 11 and grade 10 that in CAT you need to do a PAT or practical assessment task, and it is a very important part of your CAT career, and you really want to make sure, especially in matric, that you are ending your year on a high note by making sure that you end strongly, that you make sure that you complete everything in the PAT. It's always a shame when students leave out certain parts of the PAT that were easy marks, for example, just leaving out page numbers or something like that in your report. Make sure that you are getting to all aspects of the PAT. Just when it comes to the PAT, the point of the PAT is not just to get marks. The point of the PAT is to show off everything you have learnt in your school career, not just grade 12, but in grade 11 and 10 as well. You are showing off the skill sets that you've acquired by being a CAT student. And if you approach it from that perspective of not just I'm doing this for marks, but I'm doing this to show off all the things I've learned, to be proud of the things that you've learned in your CAT career, then that will help you approach the PAT with a better attitude than I'm just doing this for marks. Obviously, you want to obtain great marks and you want to get a high mark for this, but you'll be surprised how many people focus on the marks and then they get bored or get bogged down with certain things. Where if you take it from the perspective of I'm trying to show off everything I've learned and be proud of what I've done and really enjoy doing the PAT, you'll be surprised how good marks become a side effect of you doing those things. You will achieve the marks automatically because you're enjoying yourself, because you are proud of what you're showing off. So I really want to emphasize that you should be looking at using this to show off your skills. And if you don't feel like you've got all the skills that you need to do the PAT, that's fine. You're going to learn them as you go along. That's also the benefit of the PAT. It's there to also help you revise some of those parts of your CAT knowledge that you might have forgotten. So now you can use the PAT as a way to revise for your exams by doing the different Excel functions, by using the different access tools, by doing certain things in Word. You are using this PAT to revise all the skills that you've learned. So we're going to go through this document just briefly. I know it's 59 pages. We're not going to go through all of it, but we're just going to cover some of the key parts, which I think I want to just bring your attention to. So this year, the PAT is pretty much the same as what matrics have had to do in the past. There are 3 phases. The first phase revolving around doing some sort of defining your task and doing a lot of research. Your second phase will be doing some sort of processing of data and information using Excel spreadsheets and Access databases. And then the third phase is presenting that information. Your teacher will provide you with your dates and deadlines, but ideally you want to try get your phase 1 finished as soon as you can in term 1 and at least have started phase 2 at some point in term 1. Term 2, you should try to complete your phase 2, and before your trial start, you should be completing your phase 3. The reason why I say you should probably start your phase 2 in term 1 at the end of term 1 is because if you think about it, you write exams in term 1 and term 3. So technically, you don't have as much time in those terms to do a full phase. So you really want to start phase 1, get as much of it done as possible, and start phase 2 in term 1 so that you can maximize that time. And if you do your phase 1 and phase 2 properly, your phase 3 will go quite smoothly and you should be able to finish on time. So you can read through all this document. I would encourage you to go through it. And here's the part I really want to emphasize. It counts 25% of your final grade 12 mark for CAT. So that is the equivalent to an exam. The difference between this and an exam is you've got the memo. You can easily make sure that you get as many of the marks as possible. You can get a really good mark for this. Even if you're someone who normally gets 50 or 60% for CAT, you can really aim for an 80% for your PAT by making sure that you do all the parts that are required, not leaving anything out, making sure that you allocate enough time to complete everything. And I just want to bring your attention over here. You see that you are given a whole term for phase 1, but phase 1 is the smallest percentage of the 3 phases. So you really want to try start your phase 2 as soon as you can in term 1 so that you can start allocating time towards the phase 2, and then hopefully you can have started some of your phase 3 in term 2 as well. But just take note that a good majority of the marks come from the phase 3. So you want to make sure that you leave yourself enough time to do that. And it says here you need to complete and hand in any outstanding work for the PAT at least 3 weeks before the final CAT practical examination. Now, the dates for those have not been set. We know that the CAT prac happens quite early in term 4 in October. So if it's at least 3 weeks before, it's probably going to be at the end of term 3, if not a bit before. But remember, that's when your trials are on. So you really want to try aim to finish your PAT when trials start. But your teacher will give you your deadlines for when they need to obviously mark the PAT as well. Make sure that you keep to those deadlines. So let's have a look at the topic for the 2024 CAT PAT. And the topic is creating awareness for green jobs to contribute to environmental sustainability. Okay, so they're talking a lot about green jobs, jobs that help the environment. They mention here that we're talking about jobs with companies that produce green goods. So we talk about electric vehicles. Maybe they produce solar panels, those type of companies. Maybe they are sectors where there are potential to create green jobs, where you are helping in the environment. And they actually give us a couple of sectors to talk about. So they talk about eco-design, that is designing products in a more environmentally friendly way. So creating our regular stuff that we do, but trying to use better materials that are environmentally friendly, or in using methods that aren't using up a lot of energy or valuable environmental resources. Ecotourism is about creating awareness for the environment. Maybe you're trying to promote the awareness of the environment and preserving and conserving your community. So there's ecotourism. There is renewable energy. That's where we talk about our solar panels. We talk about wind and sun and water energy, ways of generating energy without using coal, basically. Sustainable agriculture. How can we grow food in such a way that we don't negatively impact the environment? Organic farming, making sure that we conserve the soil, making sure that we don't have a negative impact on our environment when we grow our foods. Sustainable transport, that's going to be the big buzzword with the electric cars, solar vehicles. But don't just think about electric cars. Think about biofuel or hybrid vehicles. Don't always limit yourself to just electric vehicles. There are other ways that you can be more sustainable, such as, for example, riding bicycles. That could even be something to think about. Maybe we need to promote bicycle riding in our cities, for example. Waste management is another thing that you could look at. How do we get rid of our waste in a way that is sustainable? How do we collect that waste? How do we divide it into the different parts so we can recycle? Those type of things. And remember, as CAT students, where you learn about computers, you also want to talk about e-waste. Think about all the cell phones you're going to use in your lifetime. How do we dispose of them? And then environmental protection. And how do we protect the natural environment? This includes conservation, air analysis, biological conservation, and marine protection. Those are the sectors that they refer to. And what's lovely is they've given us this diagram below here where they've shown us the different sectors, and they've given us some examples of jobs in those particular sectors. So for example, with renewable energy, they talk about hydroelectric power plant operator. So these are the different green jobs in these different sectors. They've given you a lot of useful resources to work from. Really use this to guide you for which job you want to focus on. They're going to talk about identifying one job and focusing particularly on that. But if you look at the rubric, they actually talk a lot about a sector. So I want you to look at these different sectors, and that's where you want to put your focus. You're not going to do on everything. There's just too much to go into. But I want you to find which one of these appeals to you, which one grabs your attention, and that's the one that you're probably going to focus on. So when you find the one that you're looking at, then you can go over here and look at the different jobs. You can maybe then look at a couple of those as options to research. The first step is going to be identifying which sector you want to focus your PAT on. So your task is to investigate how one green job from one of the sectors could contribute to the environmental sustainability. So you're looking particularly at one of the jobs, but you're also focusing on one of the sectors. You want to look at how it works in your local, provincial, or national level. You want to look at how do you obtain that job? How do you implement green jobs or change from a normal job to a green job? The challenges associated with it, the challenges and implications of pursuing a green job, the impact of the green job, and overall solutions of how that can improve the environment. That's going to be your research that you do in phase 1. You're also going to gather data and collect information about the awareness of green jobs. What resources can be used in a green job? Which measures should be taken when using green jobs in environments? How people are affected by green jobs, both positively and negatively. Identify possibilities that could solve the impact associated with green jobs. So there might be some issues. Maybe you want to give some ideas of how to solve them. And you really want to look at who you're targeting. Now, whoever you are targeting is going to be a key decision with regard to who you're going to be finding information from, particularly from your survey. So if you are going to have access to maybe people in government or in your local community, then go for that. But you are probably going to have better access to, for example, people at your school, maybe teachers at your school or your parents. So you might want to tailor your target audience to those groups of people. As when you do a survey, for example, you can have better access to ask them questions and give them surveys. Because remember, you're going to do a survey where you need to ask at least 25 people different questions. You really want to have access to that group of people. So that's something to think about when you are thinking about your target audience. Now, they talk about the focus must be on pursuing a green job in a specific sector with regard to environment and sustainability. So don't go into multiple sectors, keep to one. And I really want to emphasize this part here. You're going to use a spreadsheet and a database, but they're not going to be the same set of data. So maybe you are going to do a survey. You're going to take that data from the survey and put it into a spreadsheet. That'll be great. But then you can't just simply take that data again and export it to a database and then just do the similar statistics in a database. If you are going to use the data from your survey, it says here it must be some of the data, not all of it. You're going to have to add some other data to it. So you're really going to be looking at more than just the survey for your database. So I would focus on your spreadsheet being your data from your survey, and then you can research some other data which you can put into your database. But also take note that in your spreadsheet, you also need data from other sources. There is a little checkbox where you want to tick to get data from external sources. In our PAT guide, we do explain to you how you can do that, but make sure that you are looking for other information and not just the survey data in your spreadsheet. And then they give you a whole bunch of links of things that you can go through. So there's a lot of resources here. Once you have decided on your sector that you're focusing, then you can see which ones you want to go. Because some of these topics relate to green jobs in general. Some of them refer to a particular sector, like these are the tourism ones. Some of them are just general job reports. You ideally want to find out what your sector is that you are focusing on, and then that will tell you which ones you're going to look over here. You don't want to waste your time going through all of them. So you can go through all of these lovely resources that they've provided for you. By the way, you must also include resources that you found on your own. So you're not just relying on these, you need to find your own, but they're giving you a good head start at least. So again, your phase one is going to be your document that you plan, the folder structure. You're going to be doing your task definition, your focus question, identifying your sources. Doing a lot of your research is going to be done in the phase one. It's going to require a lot of reading, going through, finding an article and finding that it's useless to you, and then find another article. Ooh, this article has some good information in, so let me record the details of this article so that I know how to get back to it to get that information. So that's going to be a lot of the focus of the phase one, and really starting the layout of your report. Your phase two, you're going to be doing your questionnaire or survey, and then you're going to do your spreadsheet and your database and doing some statistics and analysis on them, which you're then going to take into your phase three, where you're going to talk about those statistics and your recommendations and your conclusions, and then you're going to complete your Word document and create a website as well to show off your findings. So that's going to be the basic gist of how things are going. Just some general tips. Your questionnaire questions are going to be very important that you get them right at the beginning. You can't conduct a survey and then when you come over here to phase three, where you are doing your conclusions and findings, and you realize, I don't have good information because I didn't ask good questions in my survey. You really want to make sure that you are asking good questions that are measurable, that you can use. You like numbers. Numbers are really good. So on a scale of 1 to 5, or things where there are percentages or how often you do something, those are good questions that you can measure and you can do stats on. But you want to make sure that everything ties in to what your focus question is. What is it that you are focusing on? So my next tip with regard to what are you focusing on is you're going to have to formulate a focus question about where your focus is going to be, which is going to include what sector you're looking at and what it is you want to do. I would strongly suggest that you go through these resources in advance, because sometimes I find students will pick a particular topic, or they pick something that they really like and they're interested in, and then they'll do the research and they find out that it's very difficult to find the information that they want. So maybe a slight way of reverse engineering your focus question is to actually go through the research and find what information's out there. And then when you find information and you get some information about a particular topic, you go, okay, I can see where this is going. I'm going to focus particular industries, or I'm going to focus on particular countries because I found a lot of good information on that. So that might guide you in a better way if you look at the information first and then decide on what your focus question is. So there is a bit of homework homework that's going to be required of you, where you go through some of these articles in advance just to get an idea of everything. But that's going to be what I suggest you do if you want to really save yourself a lot of time over here. Everything seems to be what is normally in a PAT, but I want to just have a talk quickly about some of these links that are over here. So I went to just a couple just to see what you are looking for. So I went over here. There's one on job creation and local economic development for 2023. So it's quite recent. And you'll notice that this is actually a document here at the bottom. There's actually a document over here, which you can download if you want to get your own version of it, which might be useful because then you can refer to it offline. And you really want to look for resources that have statistics, and especially statistics that deal with numbers. Those are the things that you can put into your database. Those are the things that you can also put into your spreadsheet and you can do calculations on. So if I go through here, you'll see straight away they talk about defining jobs. So there's a nice little chart. Okay, there you can see there. A lot of the research that I've looked at either talks about particular jobs or talks about particular countries. So that might be a hint at where you want to focus. Maybe you want to look at how different countries implement a particular green job or green sector and then use the different countries as your statistics kind of thing. Or you can do what sector you're looking at and compare it to other jobs and see how well your particular sector is doing. Remember, you are focusing on a sector. So if you're referring to other sectors, you are doing it in a way that you're comparing what your sector is compared to others, as long as your focus is on that particular sector. So there we go. We got some gender differences when it comes to green jobs as well. You can use that as statistics. So you can actually put those numbers into a spreadsheet and create your own charts, for example. There's some more numbers over there, and there we go. There's a nice little chart. You can read what that's about and see what those values mean for the different years. That might be something that you can put into a database. What you might find, for example, let's say you're focusing on countries. In your database, you might have a list of countries, and then the one field might be data from a particular document, and then another field will be a particular value that's from a survey from another particular document. So you could get multiple documents to compile your data for your database, but it's all based on countries. So this is Sweden's value for this, and then it's their value for that, and this is their GGI index or whatever it is. So you can then go and create a nice database table which takes each country and sees what each one's values are. But you're going to need to go through all of these to try to find enough information for you to do those type of calculations. Here we've got the societal benefits of green jobs. This is also very nice to use. There they talk about the different green jobs. There they talk about how it helps the economy and so on. And what it is, there's not really any statistics over here. But what I do want you to look at is they do mention a green growth index, a GGR. So that is something that might be something that's measurable. So although they don't mention actual values here, maybe that's something you want to research on your own. What is the GGR index of different countries? That could be useful for statistics. Maybe seeing what their GG index is over different years. Maybe that's something that you can chart as well for different countries or for different industries. So that is a key word that I think might be very useful for you. Green Growth Index. And here's another one of the links which takes you to a PDF document about measuring green jobs, and we're going to scroll down. These documents are quite difficult to read through because it's like 109 pages. You don't have a lot of time. But I'll just look through here, and ideally you can see there is lots of statistics. There's green stats on the different countries in the Nordic countries. Then they talk about the future employment patterns. There's statistics over there on framework. So I really want you to look for statistics where you can get numbers. So when I click on that, yeah, we can see the intentions of the statistics. We can see their values there. We can actually see physical numbers. If I scroll down, there we go. Those charts, we can actually find those particular values and what they mean. Take note of the years. So maybe putting this into your spreadsheet, then you can make your own charts based on this information. Here we go. Some more information about renewable energy sources, where it's coming from. So if you were looking at solar and wind for your particular sector, then here's some information with some numbers, and that's going to be useful because you can use this. As long as you understand what those numbers mean, then you can talk about what they represent. Yeah, they talk about the number of companies regarding to the Danish or Denmark, which companies are doing the most with regard to environmental areas. And then they talk about Finland's one. So there's some really nice ways to compare the data. Now remember, you were asked to also find other sources of information, not just from the links that they gave you. I simply searched for statistics on green jobs and use that because you really want numbers. And just going through there, I went into this particular global green skills report, and it looks like this. And if I just scroll down, you can see they give you a nice little summary of some interesting information. But if you actually want to read it, I downloaded it and it became a PDF. If you've got a PDF copy of your data, make sure that you save it into your resource folder so that you can keep coming back back to it and refer to it. So here we go through, and this is the whole report. And there's lots of numbers here that they talk about. Key findings with numbers again. There's a chart. It's difficult to read what those circles all represent. We know they represent countries, but what does it mean by the bigger scale? But this chart might be more useful. We could talk about the concentration in oil and gas over the years. There you can actually physically try to see what the numbers are based on the date. There are some more data. It's going to be difficult to try to record all these values, but it might be something that you want to do if you can't find any other information. Something like this might be more useful because you can actually see the values and what it refers to. And here we got some more statistics and numbers that you can use that you could probably use in charts. Try find what you are looking for. And even if you find a great chart and you can't see the actual numbers, maybe you can find out where they got that information from. Maybe go to the source of this information by looking in the references, or you can go see what those words are and maybe search on this, and then you can see if you can actually find another website that might actually have the details with the actual figures if you can't find the figures. So those are little things that I would recommend that you do. So just remember, at the bottom there is your rubric. This is going to be your friend. You need to make sure that you are going through the rubric, making sure that you tick all the blocks, that you have completed everything. You don't want to leave anything out. So make sure that you go through the rubric all the time, and before you hand in a phase, mark it yourself so that you can see, yes, I've got that, I've got that, I've got that, I've got that, so that you make sure that you've got everything that you need to before you submit a phase. Now, I also have some resources that can help you together with the PAT document. I have my PAT guide, which has links to videos together with Claire Smuts of how you can approach each phase and what you can do for each phase. They are generic videos, so they apply to any PAT, not just to this one, and it shows you how you can try to get all the marks for the different phases. So I'm really encourage you to download that PAT guide and go through those videos to help you with your PAT. The other document that can really be useful for you is the progress tracker. It's going to be a document which you can use either digitally or print out that can help you keep on track with your different phases, making sure that you are achieving your goals and making sure that you are working effectively. But I will create a video which will explain those two digital resources for you, but I really encourage you to use them to help you get ahead in the PAT. So good luck, grade 12s. Go through the document, read through everything, make sure that you know what you want to do. Try to identify which sector you want to focus on. Do some research, go read some of the articles, try to see what information you can find to spark some ideas of where you want to focus. Are you focusing on a particular job? Are you focusing on that job compared to other jobs? Are you focusing on particular countries? Try to identify where you are going to go, because that's going to help you with your direction. So you're going to need to do a bit of reading and some research now beforehand is what I suggest, and make sure that you get the PAT guide and the progress tracker in the meantime, and wait for your teachers to give you the instructions to go to the next step. Make sure that you've subscribed to the channel so that if we post more videos that might help you, that you will get them. And I wish you all the luck for completing your PAT this year. Good luck, grade 12s. Remember, if you want to stay up to date with all our videos, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Mr. Long IT and Cat. Follow us on TikTok to get more information there at Mr. Long Education. And remember, don't do it the long way, do it the Mr. Long way.